Am I the a-hole for announcing that my dad's not paying my college tuition? My aunt and uncle are paying for my cousin's college. My dad had a college fund for me, but he had stipulations like he wanted nothing below a B for grades and to pre-approve any classes I take, weekly meetings to discuss grades, and a bunch of other stuff, which would be fine if you had a normal dad. Mine isn't. My dad has a temper, and I spent 6th through 12th grades stressed out about grades and being screamed at or grounded over things that sometimes weren't even my fault, like a teacher not updating online grading and an assignment being marked missing because of it, and getting my backpack and locker randomly searched by him for no reason besides to make sure I'm not hiding anything. I decided to pay for school myself because of 1, not being stressed over getting screamed at, 2, I didn't feel like constantly worrying that he'd disapprove of a class or a grade and decide not to pay, which I could totally see him doing. I'd rather be in debt than controlled for 4 more years. I just finished my first year. Well, my family got together on the 4th and, well, sometimes they're nosy. They were talking about my cousin's school and my uncle looked at my dad and said, "Well, how much is my name school costing you?" I said, "What are you asking him for? I'm the one paying for it." Later on, my dad was pissed off and said that it was out of line to say that, and I embarrassed him. I didn't do it to embarrass him. I was just being honest. He doesn't even know how much tuition is, so he was the wrong person to ask. Am I the a-hole? This one's a little tough, just because it kind of hits a little close to home for me in just some ways, but no, you're not the a-hole. You're the one paying for tuition, so you were fair to bring up that no, he's not paying, I am. Your dad's probably just upset because you emasculated him in some way, but it means nothing. Not the a-hole. It's embarrassing to him that you hate his control so much you turned down college being paid, and rightly so. He should be embarrassed. You are the a-hole. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. I suppose I understand, but they're still ultimately not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not telling my girlfriend that my parents are gay? Hard to tell off the title. Let's get some details. I'm 25 male. I have 2 parents. My birth dad, John, who's 48, male, and my other dad, Dwayne, who's 45, male. I call my birth dad, John, Dad, and I call my other dad, Dwayne, Pops. My birth dad, John, was married to my mom for a few years. Then she left my dad, and yeah, they ended up divorcing, and now she's somewhere in California. IDK where or what she's doing. Haven't talked to her in ages. So Dad and Pops I'm super close with. They are the best parents any child could ask for. I love both of them, and they've always been with me. My dad introduced me to Pops when I was a little boy, and they had told me they were in a relationship. And I was all for it, because I had saw my dad become lonely/sad when he was single. So seeing the fact that my dad loves someone and has a life partner made me super happy. Pops and Dad got married, and we've been living an amazing life. I'm probably more close to Pops than my own dad, due to the fact that Pops is really cool and he's laid back. I love both of them equally, and they love me as well, and I'm blessed to have them as parents. For a few months, I've been dating this girl, Bella, who's my age. I thought she's pretty cute and I liked her, so we kicked it, and recently she told me, "My parents want to meet your parents and want to come over for dinner." I said, "Sure, I'll tell my family." So yesterday, Friday night, Bella comes in. Pops greets her and says, "Come on in, sweetheart, dinner is ready." She says, "You must be blank, Dad. So good to meet you." And she shakes his hand, and she sees Dad come out of the kitchen. He's holding the mac and cheese tray with the mittens and is putting it on the table. Then Bella says, "Who's he?" I said, "Oh, that's my dad." She said, "I thought he's your dad." She's referring to Pops. I say, "Yeah, that's my Pops, and that's my dad." She pulls me to the side and says, "I didn't know your parents are gay. Oh my God, why didn't you tell me?" I genuinely didn't know why that'd be an issue or so, because you're dating me, not my parents and all, so it shouldn't matter. But I guess it's a concern for her. Her parents come at the door after they parked the car, and Bella tells her parents, "Let's leave." And they left. I told my parents I'm sorry, and they said, "Son, don't worry, this is nothing new." And then we all sat down and enjoyed dinner and went to sleep. So, am I the a-hole for not telling? Oh, yeah, this is a sticky situation. I don't think you're inherently the a-hole here because you're right. Like, why would it matter if your parents are gay? Who cares? But I think you probably should have told her earlier on just to figure out if she has a problem with it. It would save some time for everyone. You're the a-hole. You put your parents in an uncomfortable position. You're an adult, so no naive/innocent excuses stand. Screw her and her parents' reaction. Didn't you give a nanosecond thought of how to make this first meeting easy for your parents? Like telling her their names, etc. to enable conversations? I don't know. I kind of disagree that they're not the a-hole here. Like, who could have foreseen this? Sure, it's bad and poor planning, but it's not really intentional. Not the a-hole, but perhaps naive. Unfortunately, it's probably better to let a girlfriend know you have two dads so you can weed out the homophobes before you accidentally bring them home for dinner. I 100% agree with you here. It's definitely naive to not mention that earlier on, but it's also weird to want to meet the parents but also have never talked about them. It's weird. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son's girlfriend out of our house? My husband, 58 male, and I, 56 female, recently met my son's 25 male girlfriend for the first time. He's been crazy about her. Apparently, they've been dating for a year before he decided to have her meet us officially. What he's told us about her all seems great. She just got her degree, was enjoying her job, family-oriented, etc. I'm honestly just glad he's happy with her. My husband and I don't think he's ever been this into someone before, so I feel pretty bad about what I did. Last weekend, he brought her over for dinner. By now, we'd been anticipating meeting her with how much our son has been gushing about her, how perfect she is, that she's the one, in his words. They ring the doorbell. We open the door. She looks exactly like her pictures, which is a great start. My son is grinning ear to ear, another great start. We invite them in. She accepts my hug and a firm handshake from my husband, and then she opens her mouth. I'm the one your son puts his in. To be frank, I was appalled. I expected my husband to laugh. Both he and my son are jokesters, and as annoying as it can be, I love it. But this was just too much for me. Maybe I'm reserved, but of all the things she could have shared about my son, she told us that? One look at my face and my husband knew how much I disapproved. Maybe I let my expectations get too high, and it's unfair to have them, but I reiterate, of all things to say to her boyfriend's parents, whom she'd never met, she chose that? My son was amused at first, but when he noticed my reaction, his face dropped. I felt like he'd sold me the full package, everything he'd always been looking for in a girlfriend. I was too disturbed by the visual it put in my head, and it translated into anger. I told her to get out, and I wanted to say more about how gross it made me feel, but fortunately left it at that. My son didn't want to go, insisting I give her another chance, but I was too fed up and uncomfortable by this point. Even my husband, who's enjoyed his fair share of raunchy jokes, wouldn't let up. They left and I immediately felt guilty. This was something my son had really looked forward to, and I feel like I took that away over a dumb joke. I tried calling to apologize, but he hasn't responded. My husband thinks she's the one who should apologize. I'm considering giving her another chance, but before I do, was I the a-hole? You see, that's where these situations get really difficult, because you seemingly understand that you went a little overboard, so I don't think you're really the a-hole, but in that moment, yes, you were. Why would anyone ever say that to their boyfriend's parents, LMAO? I mean, it's still a funny joke, but definitely not the first thing to say to the parents. That's maybe like months down the line when you have some kind of relationship with them. Hilarious joke, but the timing was off. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed till my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy. None. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls, and this is typical teenage girl behavior. I completely disagreed. Last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife, and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it, and I straight up told him. He said, "My daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed till her brother and his daughters are out of our house. She got mad I was implying we kick them out and said her family'll hate me for this, so I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do, so she should start with shaming/blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces/granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. You know, right off the bat, it's feeling like you're not really the biggest a-hole here, because your wife should be on your side to protect your child. WTF, dang, these people are entitled AF. I'd kick them all out for creating a hostile and uncomfortable situation in my own home. Not the a-hole, but you married into trash and now it's all over your house. Well, they do kinda have a point there if the wife is that willing to defend their brother's bad actions. Am I the a-hole for suing my girlfriend after she had my 1967 Impala project taken to the scrapyard? I'll try to keep this short. I had a 1967 Impala 4-door that I bought in February 2019. A couple months ago, I bought my first house that had a 2.5 car garage. I moved the car in and started tearing it down for a complete restoration. I had the body in one bay and the chassis in another, plus the whole garage filled with parts. About 2 months ago, my girlfriend came to live with me during this whole crisis, and the whole time has hated that car. She wanted to park in the garage, but I have 2 acres of land with a lot of nice places to park under shady trees, or hell, even in the barn if it has to be inside. I tell her tough luck. It's my house and it's not like I can just throw it back together real quick. Anyways, I was out of town for a couple of days on a business trip for the small local company I work for. When I got back, my girlfriend was all smiles, making me food all the time, doing all the chores, all that. I thought maybe she was just happy to have me home, but then I realized that I didn't see her car in its usual spot. I asked her where she parked so I could make sure I mow that area and keep it clean, and she said not to worry because she parked in the garage. I asked her how, and she told me to go check it out. Turns out that while I was gone, she hired some people to come over and move everything related to that car, including the drivetrain, body, and chassis and all parts, and take it to the local dump/scrap yard. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I had spent over $11,000 on that car, including new parts, services, and the car itself. I told her that I was going to be taking her to court for that, and she brushed me off like I was being dramatic. I told her that it's done between us and to pack her things and leave. I admit I was really angry, but I did end up getting a lawyer, and as I have all the receipts for all that money spent, and I have her on my house's security cam footage letting the guys in and watching them take it all, I think I can win. Her family and friends are absolutely blowing me up, saying it's just a stupid old piece of junk that she cannot pay back all that money I spent, and that I should just let it go. But I've been putting all my time, effort, and money into that car for a year and a half now, and god damn it if I am not going to get justice for what she did. Am I the a-hole? I don't really think you're the a-hole, honestly. I think it's very understandable to be quite angry if somebody threw away something that you put so much time and effort into. Yeah, you're not that bad. I would file a police report and see if there's any way that you could get her prosecuted. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. My husband would literally murder me if I did that. Seriously. Like, with a wrench. That's a little concerning. You should be careful. Am I the a-hole for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? My, female 28, sister-in-law, Amy, female 26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or domes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in in the past, I have just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the a-hole, and I'll admit I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said no, we need one bill, because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet?" She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So, am I the a-hole for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? No, absolutely not. You are not the a-hole. Well, like, she's purposefully scheming, especially to have purposefully left her wallet at home. Like, what? NTA, but you totally should have flipped the switch. Left your wallet at home. Only brought your license, so she had to cover the whole bill, then never taken her out to a restaurant again. As much as I like this strategy, it wouldn't work because the sister-in-law never brings their wallet anyways, so you'd just end up dining and dashing. She made the reservation and invited you. Etiquette says that she would be responsible for 100% of that bill, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for bringing up my brother's premature birth at Christmas dinner to get my parents to shut up? I am a nurse practitioner and I am the primary care provider for a lot of the low-risk maternity cases at the practice where I work. I also work hand in hand with the doctors and midwives to create a healthy maternity, birth, and postpartum situation. My fiance is completing her residency. We live together and have for a few years now. We aren't in any hurry to get married. We originally had plans to do so a couple years ago, but then we got really busy for 2 years. It is driving my very religious parents crazy that their youngest son is living in sin. I don't really care. I'm an adult, and I do what I want. We are getting married in June, so we are visiting my parents for Christmas. The way it came together this year, everyone is at my parents' house. So that's my folks, my 3 siblings, myself and fiance, and 7 grandchildren. So 17 people. At dinner, my mom starts going on about how she is so glad that we are finally getting married and she won't be embarrassed at church anymore. And my dad says how proud he is of his 3 older kids who all either waited to get married before moving in together or got married right away after moving in together. My fiance was getting embarrassed and I was getting mad over this stupid argument we've had too many times. And a family dinner was the last straw. I have asked them repeatedly to just accept that they cannot control how I live my life. I refuse to stay with them when I visit, even if I come alone. Hotels are just easier. So I started talking about a premature baby I had been reading about. It was almost 3 months premature and weighed about 1.6 pounds. It was super strong and healthy for being born so little, and the NICU had high hopes for the baby doing well. My mom and dad both got deer in the headlights looks on their faces. Too bad. Should not have f***ed around with my fiance's feelings. So I asked about my oldest brother. He was born almost 4 months premature. Is there a chance that we could check out the family album where we keep all the records of family births and stuff? I already know my brother was over 9 pounds and almost 23 inches long when he was born. My grandmother told me all about it the first time my parents tried to shame me. The subject changed very fast. After supper, my parents told me that I should not try to embarrass them with private things that are not my concern. I told them that if I heard anything about my living arrangements ever again for the rest of my life, I would make sure to keep bringing up the fact that my mom was in her 2nd trimester when they got married. My parents are mad at me for telling them how to behave in their own home, but my fiance is happy that they seem to be off the subject for good. Am I the a-hole? To me, it sounds like there's some heavy hypocrisy going on, so yeah, you're not the a-hole. You told them what you needed to tell them, and they got upsetty about it. Grandma is the best. Hopefully OP got her a wonderful Christmas gift. Not the a-hole. They deserve that for their hypocristianity. Not the a-hole. They played stupid games and won stupid prizes. Am I the a-hole for punishing my son after he said something racist? About a week ago, my 39 female family ordered Chinese food for delivery. When the delivery driver came to the door, my daughter, 16 female, was taking the cat upstairs to put in her room because he always tries to eat the food. My son, 13 male, loudly says, "Make sure to hide the cat from the Chinese guy," as I am at the door getting the food from the Chinese delivery driver. He very obviously heard what my son said and was upset by it. I quickly apologized and took the food. I told my son that racist jokes were completely unacceptable and very wrong, and he refused to admit that he was in the wrong. So, later that night, I forced my son to write a sincere apology to the delivery driver. His name was on the receipt, as well as write a one-page paper on Chinese culture, and a one-page paper on why racism is perpetuated by racist jokes and stereotypes. Then, the next day, I took him to the restaurant and had him read his apology aloud to the delivery driver, as well as give him the papers he wrote. The driver was very appreciative of the apology and thanked me for making my son do it. He then told my son about multiple instances where he had faced racist comments and attacks from people while he was a delivery driver. That night, my husband, 43, male, and I got into an argument about making our son do this. He told me that it was embarrassing for our son to have to do the apology and that the punishment didn't fit the crime. I told him that it was much more embarrassing for the driver to have to face that kind of racism and racist stereotypes, and that our son would get over the embarrassment. I do not condone any kind of hateful thinking in my house, and the fact that my son said that embarrassed me as well. My husband told me that it was just a joke, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I feel like I might have overreacted some, but I think it's important to help my son understand how what he had said was wrong and hurtful. No, I don't think you're the asshole. I think it might have been a little much to make your child write, like, the one-page essays or whatever, but it's still effective. They hopefully learned their lesson. And yeah, you're not an asshole for combating racism. Not the a-hole. Sounds like your husband could use the lesson too. Yeah, kinda getting some red flags from how your husband reacted to the situation. Am I the a-hole for dropping our dinner on the ground and walking out when my boyfriend asked me, "What's for dinner tonight?" I was over my boyfriend's apartment this weekend and I was cooking dinner because he was studying for exams. I made pasta and a chunky sauce with meatballs and veggies. I told him dinner was ready and he goes, "What's for dinner, with like a lot of emphasis on the last word. I was fed up. I'd had a pretty rough day with work and I have some awfully bad associations with that word being used by other people in my life who were pretty abusive. So I was so irritated that I dropped the pot of pasta sauce I'd been carrying right on the ground and was like, "Well, nothing's for dinner tonight now, and I'd better not hear you using that word again. It's for the girls." He was freaking out about how sauce had landed on his rug, and he even said, "You're seriously acting like a right now. I don't know what else to call it." I just walked out and got takeout for myself and went to my friend's house. She thought it was funny, but my boyfriend was furious. He kept texting and calling and sending me voice memos trying to explain that saying, "What's for dinner tonight?" was a TikTok trend, and that he was just quoting something as a joke to put on TikTok. I thought that was the crappiest excuse ever. It doesn't matter if he saw it as a joke or stole the joke, it was still disrespectful. But it didn't change the fact he thought that was funny, to demean me when I was trying to do him a favor. Like hell, I came over when he was studying to make a home-cooked dinner, and he decides it's time for jokes? So I put my phone on Do Not Disturb for the night and split a bottle of wine with my friend and her roommate. The next morning, he was sending me angry texts demanding I clean his rug because he was too busy with exams to do it. I was shocked he left it overnight. That's disgusting. I texted him back saying, "Yeah, so that's the tax, honey. Leave me alone till you're ready to handle your own cooking and cleaning because this isn't anymore. Also, it's vile you left that soaking in all night." He called me and told me that he was okay with doing his own household work, but I did throw a full pot of sauce at the ground, so that's on me to clean up. I told him, "Yeah, no, I'm not comfortable doing chores for you if you see me like you're..." He told me he didn't, and it was a trend, and I got pissed off he was playing that TikTok trend BS excuse again, and I told him, "Well, I'm starting a trend called saucing, where as a little joke, people throw pasta sauce around. You can't be mad because it's just a little trend, a little jokey joke, just a little prank, bro." He got really pissed off and hung up on me, and now I'm seriously wondering if this dumb effing TikTok joke is going to be the end of things between us. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my boyfriend asked me, "What's for dinner tonight, B?" This is another tricky one, I think. You're very valid in not wanting to be called that word because of your past traumas. I think some of your reaction closer to the end after this happened is a little ridiculous, but considering he's refusing to take accountability, yeah, you're not the biggest a-hole. Not the a-hole. That sauce on the rug? It's marinara. GTFO of this relationship. Mate, this dude is 30 30? I thought he was 19. Dump this a-hole now. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Dump that man like a pot of sauce. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my sister's husband's surgery with my inheritance/college money? Context. My sister, female, 27, and I, 18, female, lost our dad a year ago. He was my only parent. Mom was never in mine or my sister's life. Dad left her money, inheritance, for me and sister, and she used her inheritance to get new cars and renovate her house. I live with my aunt right now because my brother-in-law didn't let me stay with my sister. I planned on using my inheritance money to pay for college tuition. I've always wanted to be a doctor, but haven't decided which branch yet. My sister and I haven't been close. It started after she got married to her chronically ill husband, who was allowed to make backhanded compliments about dad and mock his illness and make a scene at his funeral, only because he's ill and shouldn't be held accountable for his behavior. I've distanced myself, but my sister kept visiting a lot lately, venting about my brother-in-law's condition. He's been in and out of the hospital for heart problems and in need for a surgery. She brought up my inheritance money several times, but I end up cutting the conversation. She then straight up asked if I could help pay for her husband's surgery and she'd pay back in less than a year. I felt uneasy, because if I give her money from my inheritance, which is a large amount, then there's no guarantee she'll pay back before it's time to apply for college. I'm taking a year gap, but I know my sister can't pay back that much, and I felt I was risking my future. I refused to help, and she had a meltdown at my aunt's house, calling me heartless, cruel, with no empathy. She said that her husband's health should be a priority, and I needed to help because education is nothing compared to someone's health, and asked if I'd be happy to see her as a widow and my nephew with no father. My aunt suggested others pay, but most of them cut my sister and her husband off. I argued that her husband's poor health isn't my fault after she kept blaming and guilt-tripping me. She kept crying, and although my aunt decided to stay out of it, she said that I should be prepared for permanent damage in my relationship with my sister if I don't help her now. She's been sending texts and pictures of her family, telling me this is what I was saying no to: a happy, healthy family with a healthy husband and father. I cried and felt like I was being selfish, not good aunt and sister. I asked my friend, and he said let them sell the cars and all the luxurious stuff they bought to afford the surgery, and warned me if I give them money, I'll never get it back, and may not be able to go to medical school. Hands down, you are not the a-hole here. Like, there might be some minor family obligation, but not to this extent, especially after the husband made it so you couldn't move in with them. What do you owe them? It's not like they've done anything for you recently. Not the a-hole. Education is nothing compared to someone's health. She just admitted that she has no intention to pay you back. Not the a-hole. He wouldn't even let you stay in the house with them, but expects you to put your whole future on hold for his surgery? Dang. Yeah, in a relationship, it's supposed to be a give and take. In this case, it just sounds like they just want to take, and then you're ruined forever. Am I the a-hole? I didn't attend my son's wedding. I instead spent the evening with his ex-wife. Quick backstory. After graduating high school, my son moved 3 states away for college. At 19, he married a girl he met. I tried convincing him to wait because I personally felt he was too immature. They dropped out and moved back here to his hometown. At 20, they had their first child, a beautiful little girl. 16 months later, my dad-in-law gave birth to their second child, a little boy. After the first baby, my wife and I noticed our dad-in-law wasn't happy. We both thought it was PPD related. Just after the second arrived, my son and his wife separated. She would bring the kids over for a visit. It was then she begun unloading on us. I know there's 2 sides to every story, but considering I know my son, I believed her. I sat my son down numerous times to speak with him regarding his marriage. He refused to take responsibility, blamed her for everything, even when I directly pointed out where he was the sole problem. They got into counseling. For a year, things were okay on the surface. Our dad-in-law filed for divorce. My son, 3 days later, was on Facebook announcing his new girlfriend. A month later, they were engaged. My son had forced his then-wife to become a permanent stay-at-home mom at the birth of their first child. She, of course, had no other family or friends here. She knew no one aside from us. She had nowhere to go with 2 small children. Unbeknownst to our son, my wife and I helped her financially and got her an apartment. Before the divorce was even finalized, we received a wedding invitation. I made it clear to my son I would not be attending and they would not have my blessing. His mother told him she would see to it that I would attend. I stayed consistent in my decision. I also asked him not to bring his fiancée around our house out of respect for the mother of his children. The wedding happened on February 11th. The night before, my wife gave me the final push. I did not attend. Our daughter also did not attend for the same reasons. My wife picked up our grandkids, got them dressed, and attended the wedding. My daughter and I decided to spend the evening with his ex. I couldn't imagine her sitting alone while her kids attended their father's wedding. She was taken aback that I didn't end up attending his wedding. We took her out to distract her mind. I just wanted her to know she'll always be considered family to us. My daughter also made a joke they can drop the in-law status and just be sisters now. She was very tearfully grateful. I realized just how badly she needed our support, and specifically on that night. The next morning, my son called to tell me how much of a horrible father I am for not attending his wedding. A few days later, he caught wind that I spent the wedding evening with his ex. He said that was the ultimate form of betrayal, and further, myself and his sister would have to earn a relationship with him on his terms only. I don't know, weddings are a weird spot. I'm gonna say not the a-hole because your son just seems like a tool. Not the a-hole. This is funny. You have to earn a relationship on his terms. I think he needs to check his offering. He's way overvaluing what he brings to the table. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you're a reasonable parent who acknowledges when your kid is being an idiot. I don't see anything wrong with you choosing to support the mother of your grandchildren who he seems to have left in a bad spot. Honestly, mad respect to this dad. Like, just insane work. Am I the a-hole for wearing a wedding dress at a wedding? So, my friend, 20, female, and I, 19, male, have been friends for a few years, and she recently got engaged. A week ago, I got a DM from her for a small costume party she was hosting as a celebration for her getting engaged. I asked if there was a theme, and she said there wasn't. I'm a cosplayer, so I had a lot of choices. I didn't want to rock up in an anime cosplay, so I thought it would be funny to go in an engagement party as the corpse bride. I arrived at her house yesterday, and everything seemed normal. A few people complimented my costume, and I was having a lot of fun. After 10 minutes, my friend's fiance walked out in a black tuxedo and announced this was actually their wedding. Apparently, my friend saw a video of someone doing this and wanted to do the same. He asked us all to go to the backyard for the ceremony to begin. I went straight to him. I asked him if I should quickly go home and change my outfit and that I would get back before it started. He told me it was fine since I didn't know this was the wedding. I trusted him and followed everyone outside. They got married and everything seemed good. The reception was just in their house again, so everyone just walked back inside and picked up where they left off. I tried talking to my friend and celebrating with her, but she kept making excuses to not talk to me. I assumed it was just because she was tired from the big day and wanted some alone time. I didn't bother her after that, and the party soon ended. I got home and half an hour passed when my phone started getting notifications. I checked and it was my friend texting me. She was cussing me out and telling me how I ruined her wedding. I was really confused and asked what I did. That only made her more angry. She told me it was basic knowledge not to wear a wedding dress to a wedding. I reminded her I had no idea it was a wedding and that I asked her now husband if I should change and he said it was fine. She didn't respond, but I got a text from her husband. He asked why I would tell her he said it was fine. I told him he said it was fine. Then he said how I should have changed anyways and it's my fault that the two are now fighting over this. I've tried texting her that I was sorry and if I had known I wouldn't have done it. I woke up today and saw her and her husband have blocked me on everything. So, am I the a-hole for not changing out of the wedding dress when I found out it was actually a wedding? Absolutely not! No, you're totally fine. If anything, it sounds like a setup. If they wanted this to go smoothly, they would have told people, hey, this is gonna be the actual wedding, so don't, do anything weird, please. And also, screw that husband trying to gaslight you just so he's, getting brownie points with his now wife. That's insane behavior. You're fine. I love when I read a headline and instantly form my opinion, but the story completely changes it. Not the a-hole. And you're probably better off without people like them in your life. Good lord. This is what you end up with when 20-year-olds get married. Not the a-hole. Hell no, you're not the a-hole. Ain't no one gonna confuse a corpse bride for a real bride. They need to lighten the hell up and recognize this is their own doing. For real, they blindside the guests into making it, oh, it's the wedding, whoa, and then get mad at you when you didn't know it was supposed to be the wedding? Am I the a-hole for making fun of a woman for being in her 40s and single? This whole saga started because my husband took my last name. A couple weeks ago, he got his workplace to change it, and his coworkers found out. About half of them think this is the funniest thing ever, and about half are deeply offended. Brenda is in the offended half, and has made that clear. He and I are in a group chat with his coworkers where we organize carpooling during the pandemic. It is very helpful to us us, so we can't leave the chat. Since he changed his name, my husband and I have been dealing with a lot of dumb jokes in the chat, which we have been mostly ignoring. Yesterday, Brenda, his coworker, and I got into a bit of a spat. I messaged the group asking if someone could take my husband home since I wouldn't be back from work until late and needed the car. One of his other coworkers agreed, and I thought that was that. Brenda messages the group saying, "Maybe if you spent less time at work and more time being a wife, your husband wouldn't come into work with dirty shirts." I took this as a bad joke initially. My husband is a rural mail carrier, so his shirts look like shirts worn by someone in 90-degree heat on dusty roads. I do wash them, but there's only so much to be done. Me, I could make cleaning those shirts my full-time job and it wouldn't do much, lol. Brenda, "You won't be married very long if you keep trying to be the man in the relationship. I'd be embarrassed as a wife if I did so little for my husband." Me, "Well, I work more hours and pay the bills, so I think he can OxyClean his own shirts if it's so important." Brenda, "Maybe you should learn to take proper care of your husband or you'll find yourself divorced." Me, "I'll let you know when I need relationship advice from someone who is 42 and single." Now apparently Brenda is going around and saying that I mocked her for being single in her 40s. I don't care if someone is single in their 40s, but I think it's absolute BS that she can call me a bad wife, but I can't point out she has no frame of reference. No, you're absolutely not the a-hole. If anything, you're the hero in this story because I have a feeling a lot of people in the workplace don't like Brenda. Not the a-hole. What the heck, Brenda? Mind your own single business. Not the a-hole. I love how you responded. I can't for the life of me understand how any of his coworkers are offended over this, much less to the point they are attacking you. For real, why is it anybody's business? It's just a name. For gosh sakes, it's just a name. Not the a-hole, but be flattered. Brenda clearly has a crush on your husband. Also, his coworkers sound like they suck. They do bring up a good point. If anything, it sounds like Brenda's being a little pick-me here, like, "Oh, please, I'd be such a good wife." Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister-in-law out after she threw away most of my single-use baby products and even formula? I'm 19, female. I have a 3-week-old baby girl. I do still live with my parents, but since I pay rent equally, they say I can have just as much of a say in who comes and goes from the house as they do. I've never actually taken advantage of this rule until recently enough. I have a brother who's 26 and his wife is 24. They're crunchy parents to an 8-month-old. Basically, what that is effing stupid. They use reusable wipes/nappies, think formula is the epitome of evil, baby wearing, the list just goes on. I'm the complete opposite. Pacifiers, supplementing with formula due to low supply, disposable wipes and nappies. They are completely against the products I use and often give me things like sister-in-law's breast milk in bags, disposable nappies their LO has grown out of, etc. I've used some, but it's not really my cup of tea. On Monday night, my brother and sister-in-law were minding my baby for me since it was my birthday, and my baby's father, not together, very close friends and co-parents, took me to get some dinner in one of my favorite fast food places. It was great and really relaxing. When I got home that evening, my sister-in-law said that she did some cleaning and threw out anything I don't need. This immediately gave me red flags, but they were in a hurry to get out the door and left almost immediately. When I went into the nursery, every disposable nappy and wipe pack was gone and replaced with some reusable cloth ones. Same with my formula. There was 8 tubs and all of it was gone. I'm not able to replace them at the moment, and solely breastfeeding isn't sustainable for us. I was extremely angry, and I just turned my phone off to avoid being mean to my sister-in-law. She and my brother came over yesterday to collect something they forgot, and that was when I confronted her. I told her she has to replace everything she dumped. When she said she can't afford to, I said fine, just get out and don't come back until I've been reimbursed or everything is replaced with the original items. My brother thinks I'm being a massive a-hole, and he's on his wife's side. Our parents think I'm being completely reasonable here, but they think telling her essentially not to come back is taking it too far. Am I the a-hole? Look, I don't know anything about parenting. I'm not gonna lie and say I do, but in this case, the financial damage done because they threw away all of your stuff? Yeah, you're not the a-hole. They just wasted all of your money. So she saved the environment by, checks notes, throwing away all of your supplies. Makes sense. Not the a-hole. And your sister-in-law has a screw loose. Not the a-hole. Sounds like theft to me. File a police report. She will replace. That does bring a good point. There could be potential of small claims court depending on how much much the financial, loss was by losing all the product? Not the a-hole. Babies are expensive. She trashed a lot of stuff that you can't get back that your baby needs. Am I the a-hole for telling my family that if they gift us money for our wedding, there will be no strings attached, or we will politely decline it? I effing hate wedding culture. It's BS. My fiance and I thought we would escape that BS and money by having a small thing. Well, family started trying to throw money at us to make it bigger and more spectacular. We were surprised, but it was a good surprise. Then the demands started coming out. They wanted this, they wanted that, they wanted this person to come, these colors, dresses can't do this person has to be flower girl, this person has to be a groomsman, etc., etc. Suddenly, it didn't feel like our wedding, but an excuse for our families to have a family reunion. We put our foot down and said, "Thank you all for your kindness and generosity when it comes to our wedding. Unfortunately, it looks like we may not have been on the same page as the rest of you. When we were offered money for this wedding, we did not realize it came with strings attached. With so many requests and so many demands from people we didn't expect would think they had a say in our wedding, we have decided to give everyone their money back. Our understanding of what a gift is must be very different. If you would like to give us money without strings attached or requests or demands, we will gracefully accept it. But if you believe a gift should come with stipulations, we must regretfully and politely decline." This has caused an epic storm, such to the point where I have people saying they will never come to our wedding. Honestly, not the worst thing in the world. That we were spoiled, we're a-holes, etc., etc., etc. My parents are rather upset about it, but hers, who never made any demands and gave us a small cash gift, said we did the right thing. We are halfway to canceling the whole party and just absconding into the wilderness to do the wedding the way we want. Am I the a-hole? Are we? Ooh, it's a little tricky. I do think you could have been a little bit nicer in your response to everybody, but overall, it is your wedding. If people are giving you money to, essentially reserve your wedding to have a specific thing, that's their problem, not yours. Not the a-hole. That money was not a gift. Yeah, if anything, it sounds like these people were giving you money as an investment to their entertainment. That's what we call a bribe, boys and girls. Here comes the bribe. Am I the a-hole for my response to my sister's boyfriend's brutal honesty? My female 35 sister, female 27, started dating one of those brutally honest guys few months ago. He can be quite rude and make backhanded comments about me and the family sometimes, which is bothersome. But my sister says he's not malicious, but is just the brutally honest type, and we should get used to it. I visited my parents' house to celebrate my sister's birthday, and my husband couldn't come with me because he was busy. After the party, we all sat down for dinner, and my sister's boyfriend said it was weird that my husband and I don't have kids despite being married for 6 years now. I was shocked that he brought this up, but I gave a short answer stating that it's because of infertility issues. He asked on which side, and I didn't want to answer, but my sister said it's on my side. I got uncomfortable as he looked at me for a second and said that maybe not having kids now is a good thing, because he thought women over 30 might produce defective babies due to age. Jesus Christ. I told him it was none of his business, but he said that he was just giving his honest opinion, and that's all. I, in return, told him while maintaining eye contact, "Trust me, if I wanted an a-hole's opinion, I would have farted." It's kind of lame, but good for you. Literally everyone at the table bursted into laughter, and my sister and her boyfriend were stunned. Few seconds later, her boyfriend excused himself out, and my sister followed, then sent me a text after they left saying I was mean and disrespectful towards her boyfriend and insulted him maliciously just because he stated his honest opinion. She also said I ruined her birthday by being petty and making her boyfriend the joke of the night in front of the family. I didn't respond, but she demanded an apology via mail as soon as possible. Mom agreed that I shouldn't have said what I said and should have just ignored him knowing how he is. I think AITA, but I'm not sure. Okay, first off, that's not how that final sentence should be made at all, that you're using it wrong. Second of all, no, you are not the a-hole. Some people just like to use the brutally honest honest excuse to cover up the fact that they are just the biggest POS on earth. Oh, and your sister's kinda dumb too. Not the a-hole, but sister is also the a-hole for volunteering OP's private medical information when BF so rudely asked the intrusive "whose side?" question. Yeah, it's super uncalled for the boyfriend to ask that and for the sister to just willy-nilly say it out loud. Not the a-hole. You were being brutally honest as well. He needs to keep his opinions to himself. Am I the a-hole for moving my son into a rental apartment after finding out that his dad's been canceling his job applications? My son, Aiden, 23, moved back in with us upon graduating college as my husband wanted. My husband's original plan was to have Aiden live with us for free, but stay home and help with his disabled younger brother, 16. Aiden started complaining about needing money and wanted to find a job. My husband was against this and even offered to double his allowance, but Aiden was growing tired of staying at home. So he began looking for jobs here and there for over a year, but none of his job applications came through. He'd just apply and they never get back to him. We were confused by this till recently I found out that my husband was behind all the job applications being canceled. He'd wait till Aiden applies, then he proceeds to cancel the application by impersonating him and using his email. I blew up at him for this, but his justification is that he's just trying to make sure that our younger son is cared for by Aiden, and said that Aiden has been a big help and him getting a job will affect his care for his brother. I went ahead and rented an apartment for Aiden and told him to stay there till he finds a job and starts paying for it himself. Aiden was hurt upon knowing what his dad did. My husband was livid when he found out. He called me unhinged and said that I was separating the boys and teaching Aiden to become selfish and care more about a job than family. He also said it was a huge decision for me to rent an apartment without even running it with him. He's been giving me hell about it and is calling me a terrible mother for encouraging Aiden to be selfish and self-centered. He said I needed to see and understand why he did what he did. No, not the a-hole. If anything, your husband is a freak, honestly. He's trying to just immediately push your other son into indentured servitude to take care of your younger one? No, you don't get a free babysitter, especially if you're doing it like that. Not the a-hole. Your husband is abusive to Aiden and honestly creepy in his manipulations and insistence on Aiden being Dobby the house elf. Not the a-hole. Hopefully Aiden has changed his password and maybe even set up a second secret email for job applications in case Daddy Dearest manages to access the old one in some way. Not the a-hole. What your husband did to Aiden is inexcusable. Just how does he expect Aiden to take care of his brother down the line if he has never had a career or any savings? Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invite my underage son? I, 40, male, have a sister, 30, female, who was getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless, but very happy for them as they are longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 male, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking for his clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed, but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first, my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month, and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric, which I paid for as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months, he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, as she always complained about something. After a while, he arrived at the final model, and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress, and I confess that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that last week, my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird. I messaged my sister raising this issue, and she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family. My son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. And to make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress and couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible, and she would no longer wear the one my son made. She called and yelled at me, saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother called me saying I should deliver the dress and follow the the rules, but I didn't and hung up on her. Because of this, the family is divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's actions, saying she could only make an exception, but another part says I'm unreasonable and I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong, but just rational and paying her back in kind. So, am I the a-hole? Yeah, no, open and shut case. Your sister asked him to make the dress. He is allowed to be at the wedding. You are not the a-hole. Your sister is crazy. Not the a-hole. He should go and wear the dress. Better yet, show up at the wedding and burn it. So your sister can't have children at her wedding, but use your son as child labor to make her wedding dress? She's the a-hole. Well, if he's not invited, he doesn't need to give a gift. She should pay for the dress, and if she doesn't, you're not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for barring my husband from the bedroom tonight? So here's the situation. Me, nurse, working 50-ish hours a week in pediatric ICU. Cry at least once a week because that shit is hard. My salary pays our bills. All of them. Husband, 25, male. Has a degree but isn't looking for a job. Works 2 days a week at the grocery store. Spends most of his time playing League of Legends. By the way, all events here are in accordance with COVID legislation. Today was supposed to be a good day. I had been begging my husband to swap his Saturday shift to literally anything else so that we could have days off together. We haven't had a weekend together since our wedding, 18 months ago. Today was supposed to be our first Saturday off together. We were going to go to an animal sanctuary. He starts the day by going to breakfast with his best mate, leaving before I even wake up. I wake up around 9 and realize he is not home. Call. He says he's helping his mate set up some lights and that the weather is too rainy for the animal sanctuary anyway. He gets home at 1-ish, lies around, plays some video games, promising we would cook dinner together tonight, leaves again at 5 to help the same mate with something else. I go grocery shopping. I don't drive because of medical issues, but I walk there and back in the rain. I get home, realize I've left my keys inside, call husband, knowing he's 5 minutes away. He says he will leave in a minute. I sit in the rain and the cold, southern hemisphere. 45 minutes later, I call again. He hasn't left yet. He finally agrees to come and let me in the house, so he drives up, presses the clicker to let me in the garage, and leaves again. At 10, I called to see where he is. His friend answers, says he is driving out to do something an hour away. It's 10:30. I am going to bed. I have sent him a text that I am upset and don't want to speak to him tonight and would rather he left me alone. As far as I'm concerned, if he can't value me more than his best mate on the first day off he and I have shared in a year and a half, he can go sleep in his bed instead. By the way, his friend doesn't work, so they hang out all the time when I'm at work. He is going to be upset, and he is going to tell his mate, and his mate is going to tell him I'm being a bitch. Am I the a-hole? Once again, what can I say other than you're not the a-hole? Clearly, your husband is a massive loser. If he can't spare 1 day of his 5-day weekend to spend with his wife, who is currently being a frontline hero, he can go live with his friend, in my opinion. You don't need Reddit. You need marriage counseling. I feel like that can apply to a lot of these. Not the a-hole. You deserve a better husband. Am I the a-hole for not waking up my girlfriend for her exam after I overheard her calling me a little bit? My girlfriend has online summer courses and she had an exam for one of them this morning. I usually wake her up for pretty much everything because she sleeps through her phone alarm no matter how long it buzzes or how many she sets. She has joked that I'm her butler before, and within the context of a relationship, it's okay, so I don't mind. Obviously, I want to love my partner and try to make her life easy. However, last night she was chatting with her friends and she thought I couldn't hear. She was bragging that I'm her little bitch and I do everything for her when she tells me to, etc. It really hurt my feelings because they were making comments like, good, put him in his place, and she was agreeing. She specifically said, yeah, I'm not worried about tomorrow because the bitch will make sure I'm up and he'll probably have breakfast ready for me too. I went to bed pretty hurt by it, and come morning, I didn't bother to wake her up when her alarm started to go. She usually only gets up when someone physically shakes her, but I let her turn off her alarm and she slipped back into sleep, and I turned around and went back to sleep too. When she woke up, she was yelling at me, saying I'm an a-hole and I've cost her exam and I'm a piece of crap for what I did. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend sounds incredibly abusive. You shouldn't have put up with that. Don't wait for any more red flags. Get out of this now. You deserve better. Not the a-hole, but you should just leave without notice. Not the a-hole. She didn't respect you. Why would you do anything helpful for her? Also, get out of that relationship. Am I the a-hole for literally showing my dad how he behaves every day when he gets home from work? My female 16, father, male 46, is the breadwinner, while mom is a stay-at-home mom. She handles everything around the house like cooking, mopping, washing, laundry, etc. I'm the oldest and I try to help, but really there's only so much I can do while my dad just gets home at the end of the day and literally complains about everything, like how the carpet isn't clean or how the food is cold. As a result, I'd have to listen to a huge argument daily between him and mom. It's exhausting, but honestly, I think that my dad is in the wrong here. I tried talking to him to get him to see how his behavior is, but to no avail. So what I did was pick a day off for him and pretend to act like him. I put together an outfit that looked like a suit and put black tape over my lips to look like a mustache. At 6 p.m., I went inside the house, shouted, "I'm home!" Then sat next to him in the living room and started kicking my shoes while complaining about the state of the house at the top of my lungs. He glanced at me confused, asking what I was doing. I ignored him, then started yelling about the carpet being dirty, shower not ready, the kids needing to be quiet, and so on. He kept staring while mom and my siblings laughed. My youngest brother kept pointing towards me saying, "This is Daddy." I then proceeded to yell about dinner, then berated my mom for not preparing it before time. My dad stopped me and in a serious tone asked what I was doing. I turned to him and said, "What? Can't a man effing rest after working long hours?" in the most macho voice I could muster. My dad got the hint because this was the common phrase he uses daily. He went quiet and avoided looking at me. I stopped the act and told him I was trying to show him what he's like every day when he comes home from work. He said nothing, just went outside and refused to speak to me. Later, he went on about how I mocked and invalidated him, that he does work hard and me doing this was disrespectful and invalidating. Mom said it was funny, but also thought I hurt my dad's feelings and I could have gotten the message across some other way instead. Am I the a-hole? Ooh, this is a bit of a thinker, huh? I will say, not the a-hole. I don't think how you went about it is the most tactful way, though it is hilarious. Not the a-hole. You held up a mirror to his behavior, and he didn't like what he saw. That's on him. I hope he gets the message. This is absolutely hilarious and well-deserved, and sometimes people need to see how they're behaving reflected back at them to truly understand. Good job. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Also, you're a delightful human. 10 out of 10. Am I the a-hole for getting upset with my husband after he told me nothing will change while I am pregnant? Throwaway account. So me, 26, female, and my husband, 28, male, who I'll call Jake for this story, have been together for 5 years and married for 3. We have recently started trying for a baby as we both felt like that was the next step in our life together. And 3 weeks ago, I got a positive test back. We were really happy and told our families, and now my mom and mother-in-law want to throw a big baby shower for us. It was just super good news all around. Well, 2 nights ago, me and Jake were getting ready for bed when he reminds me to go through the house and make sure all the lights are off. Now, he can be a little lazy at times, and it has become a nightly routine for me to make sure all the lights are off that he leaves on before we go to bed. I wasn't feeling very well and asked if he could just do it since he wasn't doing anything and was literally standing by the door. He then tells me, "No, this is what is expected of you every night." I was a little hurt, but I didn't want to fight with him, so I just did it. When I came back, Jake goes on this very long and unprovoked rant saying things like, "Just because you are pregnant does not mean anything will change," and "You are still expected to cook, clean, and do all the chores every day, because how can you be expected to be a mother if you can't handle a little work?" He wasn't yelling or anything, he was talking to me quietly like I was 2 inches tall. I was shocked because I had never heard him say anything like this. The rant went on for about 30 minutes before I interjected and asked, "Well, what do you plan on doing to help me with all of this?" He then got extremely defensive, saying he works his butt off at his job to provide for me and what is going to be our future children. For context, I don't work at the moment. My job was not paying enough to justify me going, so I am a full-time college student. He ended up saying that it doesn't matter how I feel physically or mentally, it is a mother's job to push through, and if he helped and babied me, I wouldn't be a good mother. I got extremely upset and started yelling, and I said that, "I wish I would have known this is how you felt before I got pregnant with your baby." There was a moment of silence before he started crying, and he left for the night to stay at his mother's house. He hasn't been back yet, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law have called me, berating me, and saying I broke Jake's heart with what I said, and I need to apologize immediately, and until I do, he isn't coming home. I don't know how to feel. So, am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband after he said he isn't helping me with anything during the pregnancy because because it's a mother's job to deal with it. Once again, I must say, not the a-hole. Marriage counseling, good, maybe, or divorce, that's always an option. Girl, get an abortion and a divorce ASAP. This man just told you who he really is, and things are about to get a whole lot worse. Run. Not the a-hole, but YTF did he start crying? Is he mentally stable? After this whole exchange, I'm gonna say probably not. Would I be the a-hole if I asked my pregnant wife to move out because she and her best friend decided to test my loyalty? Oh god, what does this even mean? My wife is pregnant with our daughter. Initially, we were really happy and excited about it, but then she started acting like a nut job. She gets angry and irritated for small things, insults me when she doesn't like the food I make, starts acting insecure and accuses me of losing attraction for her. For example, she wanted to eat chicken sandwiches for dinner last week. Well, I made chicken sandwiches, so she eats all the sandwiches, leaves me nothing, and told me that they tasted like crap. I wasn't pissed because she left me nothing, but if she didn't like them, why did she have to eat everything? When I asked her this, she told me that she was hungry. Okay, fine. She does this every time. Eats everything I make and calls it crap. I don't argue with her because I work for more than 80 hours a week and I really want to have some peace when I'm home. So, yesterday, a random girl starts at flirting with me after the gym and asked me if I wanted to meet up with her for some drinks. I rejected her and told her that I was married, and when I got home, my wife started to hug me and apologize. When I asked her what happened, she told me that her best friend suggested a test for my loyalty. So they asked a mutual friend to flirt with me and asked me out, and I passed. Yay! I'm really pissed. I'm done with her antics. Would I be the a-hole if I asked her to move out? Oh, geez. Okay, I don't really know about this one. Yes, you would be the a-hole if you kick her out during the pregnancy. I think the best course of action is, fully communicate with her, and if she can't handle it, then, maybe the problem solves itself. She'll leave. Yikes. Might I suggest some couples therapy first? What she did was clearly an A move, though I don't think you'd be in the right to have her move out while pregnant. Not the a-hole. That is highly manipulative behavior. I hope this is just a side effect of pregnancy hormones, but if she does things like this all the time, your marriage will be in trouble. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friend she is too old and ugly after she repeatedly asked my 19-year-old son to take off his shirt? He was getting uncomfortable. My family had a small get-together at my house. One of my wife's friends was over. She is unmarried. I think she is 45 to 47. We aren't too close to her since she lives pretty far away. She was over our house and she started complimenting my son. My son is 19. It starts off innocent, but as time goes on, it gets more and more crossing the line. When we were out on my deck, she starts telling my son to take his shirt off. What's the point of going to the gym if no one will see it? My son is visibly uncomfortable and tries to shut her down. She repeatedly is asking and is getting more aggressive with it. I interject and I am like, "Hey, Kathy, I think you are a bit too old and ugly for my son." This got her upset really quickly, and she excuses herself to the bathroom and starts crying. My wife goes to comfort her and then later she leaves. At the end of it, my wife is super angry with me for saying that I should have said, "Hey, Kathy, looks like you had too much to drink," or something else. I told my wife that Kathy, by the way, this is not her real name, works a corporate job, she has had training on this, and that she knows better. And our son was uncomfortable. He is 18 plus, but he doesn't know how to deal with an adult, let alone someone saying that in our house. I told my wife flat out that if I was to invite a guy friend and he was to ask to see our daughter in a bikini, my wife would have called the police. She says it's different. I tell her that I was way kinder to Kathy than I would have been had a guy said something like that to our daughter. And I told my wife that Kathy needs to apologize to my son before she can ever come into our house again. Overall, I think I was fair. If Kathy said it once and I said that, I think I would be the a-hole. But the fact she kept repeating it, that's why I said it. And I wanted her to get the message that yes, I am upset. That's why I included the ugly part. Alright boys, pack it up. We got another easy one. Not the a-hole. Kathy is a creep, and I mean maybe you could have not called her ugly, but whatever. Not the a-hole. Double standard, no more. I wouldn't let her around my boy anymore. I would be livid if a husband's friend was telling my daughter daughter the same type of things. Everyone sucks here except the son. Your friend for sexually harassing your son, you for bringing her age and appearance into the picture, and your wife for saying it's different because it's your son and not your daughter. Yeah, that is kind of a weird thing for the mom to say is, oh, it's different. Like, no, it isn't. It's still your child. Doesn't matter male or female. They can be harassed. Not the a-hole. She should know better. You could have probably said you're acting ugly, RN, but creeps' feelings don't matter. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend her parents bought her house, not her? Backstory. I, female 28, have a friend, female 28, who purchased a house late last year. It's an awesome 2-story house, and I've been over there plenty of times to help out with moving/decorating and for hanging out. As mentioned in the title, her parents purchased the house for her and her partner. I truly have no issue with this, as the housing market is terrible for buyers, so more power to them for being homeowners. I recently, unfortunately, inherited my parents' house, which is 3-bedroom, out in the sticks. The issue: we went appliance shopping because most of that stuff in the house was 10 to 15 years old. We were standing with an employee who I had asked to recommend some smaller items like toasters and kettles when the employee asked if I was moving out as general chit-chat. I told him I was moving, and he asked whether I bought or rented. I told him bought because it was just easier and less awkward than telling him I inherited the house. He told me that was cool and began talking about the toasters again when my friend cut in that I had inherited my house, not purchased it. The employee went quiet, and I gave her a "what was that?" face. I was taken aback. She continued on saying, "Yeah, I purchased my house." I asked, "Does it really matter? I'm here to buy some kitchen appliances, not tell this guy my personal issues." She grinned and said, "It's just for the record," which made me more confused and annoyed. You can probably see where this is going. I replied, "Oh, okay, then if it's just for the record, your parents purchased your house for you." The employee quickly retreated and she walked outside of the shop. I caught up with her and she said I was a massive a-hole for pointing out she couldn't afford to own without her parents' help. I returned with a very similar, "My parents also helped me with getting a house too, just in a really terrible way." My partner agrees with me, saying that she's the one that opened that door, but our other friends are split almost 50-50. If you don't want the smoke, get out of the kitchen. I don't know if that's the phrase. Whatever. Not the a-hole. Your friend is crazy, because, like, why try and do that to a random employee? Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to be catty and look down on you for how you each got your homes. It seems like an odd disconnect that she feels superior about it all. Not the a-hole. Your friend started the "let's tell the truth" game. Not your fault if you played along. That poor retail employee. LOL. Honestly, they're the true victim in all of this.